All right, this is my question. I'm asking the question: Are Alabama and are Nick Saban and Alabama trying to be more like Georgia and Kirby Smart? Yeah, I know. Hold on, Matt. Here, let me read this article from ESPN. I think this is Heather Dinich, who was down there a couple of weeks ago while we were downtown eating. We saw this. This is something that caught my attention from Kool-Aid McKendry. Now, Kool-Aid McKendry, if you may not remember him, I'll show you who that is in a second here. He says the standard here is to be a champion. Kool-Aid McKendry said, "That's all we know." And then, just real quick here too, Matt. Again, this is from Kool-Aid again. He says that they've been trying to develop a quote brotherhood. We've been doing team events like going to Top Golf and having more team meetings and talking to former players, getting what they've getting gosh, getting what they've been telling us, like what they used to do. We are being a brotherhood, and that just makes us play harder for each other. You're playing for somebody you can't let down. Somebody is trusting you. Matt, that sounds an awful lot like Georgia's connection. But I mean, and I'm not hating it. I'm just asking the question: is Bama trying to do what Georgia's been doing lately?
First of all, I think it's McKinstry. I don't want the
You are
commenters to.
correct.
Okay.
But I did pronounce Kool-Aid correctly, right?
Yes. Yeah, five-star name then. JaQuincy McKinstry, I think was his name when I covered him in high school. But didn't want the people commenting to light you up there. But yeah, I mean, they're trying to get that connection going. They got to do something, right? I mean, they've seen Georgia win the last two national championships. They got to do something. And this time last year, everyone said Alabama's going to come back in
Yeah.
2022. They're hungry. They're not going to let this happen again. And we're hearing the same thing. I saw someone out there say that Nick Saban was the best head coach and they're the scariest program because they're hungry. And I'm thinking, weren't they hungry last year? Just give me a break here. Georgia has passed them. So they need to do something. And if it's get together as a team, do some connection stuff, play top golf, and that's what they got to do. But that's what Kirby's built this program around: composure, discipline, physicality. But this past year, it was more of the teammates getting to know each other, understanding their why they play football, who they play football for, what is their end goal. And he said they were more connected because of it, because everyone knew their teammates inside and out in a way that they may not have in the past. So, yeah, when I saw you texted me that we were going to talk about this, I said, well, you might have to, really take the lead here. But I think it is clear that Georgia has passed Alabama. And again, you gotta do something different. And like we've said in the past, if you don't have a quarterback that you
Yeah.
trust, right, you need to have some type of team bonding, get it together, because you're going to face adversity. And you need a team that is composed and can rally around each other when things get tough. And I think there could be times this year where things maybe look tough for Alabama. They almost lost to A&M last year. They fought back and won that game. But it hasn't been all that pretty for the Tide the last 2 years.
Well, when you look at, the last time we saw these two teams playing, this is what happened at the end of the game, and it was an explosion of things. I've got a few of these left, the Keely Ringo Dark Instruction books that he signed. This was the last time we saw Georgia and Bama play. Kool-Aid McKinstry, excuse me. I think he's won a national championship at Alabama, but I'm not quite sure if that's the case. Um, I'm going to just very quickly go here. He has not won a national championship at
I think he was
Alabama.
in that 2021 class.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, and I'm not trying to hate on this kid. I swear to God, I'm not. I don't know him at all, and I'm not. But like, you can't really have this quote right here that he says when you've never won a national championship. Standard here. That's all we know. Now he may be talking about the standard, so I'll let that go. That is the standard at Alabama, by the way, and that's all they know. They just haven't knocked that out of the park yet, and that's you know it is challenging when you've not won it to try to win it. I mean, do you remember these? Did you remember this time, Matt? What this was like at Georgia? How the run up to the game, everything after the game. You know how much doubt was on Georgia, and
Yeah.
now Alabama is dealing with some doubt, right? Because I felt like they would be the team. I thought it was going to be them and Ohio State play for the national championship. Essentially, it was Georgia and Ohio State play for the national championship. And you said like two or three times earlier that Georgia's past Bama, which I think it's hard to argue that they've not. Although I don't know how far past them they are. How far
Yeah.
past them are they?
More and more with each win. But I
Yeah,
mean, back to back, you're on top. I don't care what sport
right.
it is,
Yeah,
especially when you beat the team that was on top.
yeah.
I'm sure we could put a boxing reference in there at some point. That sport more than me, but right now, is Georgia like the Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson was in his prime, or someone else? But
I would.
eventually, you got to knock out the king, and Georgia knocked
Yeah.
out the king, and now they're on top. They got the belt. They're stone cold, right? Who just beat Shawn Michaels in 98, I believe. So
Which
love those
was which
references.
was a very sad day, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
Were
love
you
Shawn
more?
Michaels, but
Yeah, were you more a Stone Cold guy or a Shawn Michaels guy?
Shawn Michaels was a better wrestler, but Stone
Yeah,
Cold
he
was a
was.
better character. And when he was on top, I mean, he was the guy. It was hard not to. But Georgia's on top right now, and for Kool Aid, he's playing for a program that did win title after title, skip a year, title,
Yeah.
and he hasn't got that yet. So he's just trying to do everything he can. And a lot of those guys on Bama's roster now, probably half of them have not won a championship there. So
Well, it might be more
they're
than
hungry,
that.
but
It
yeah,
might
they're
be more than
hungry.
that just because of the Bryce Young never won a national championship. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait for the comments. He won the national championship in 2020. I mean, all right, fine, he did. Whatever. So did JT Daniels, and I guess like if that's what we're going with, guys that don't
Well,
start at quarter.
Carson said he wants his own. I don't
Exactly.
think.
Exactly. That's my point. Now, if you
Yeah.
played another position, I think you can claim it, but
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, it's not for me to say. Hey, they start with Middle Tennessee, then they host Texas, a team they should. I mean, there's not a lot of losses on this thing, but we know what it's like to play in this league. Alabama goes to UCF, which is very curious, playing in Tampa, and then hosting Ole Miss at State at A&M on the 7th of October. They beat A&M last year, right? On the last play of the game?
Yeah. Lost to
Correct.
them the year before.
On the last play of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so Arkansas at home, Tennessee at home. I mean, they should not lose any of those games. LSU comes to Bryant Denny. They should. That's going to be a fight for sure. They go to Kentucky. They play Chattanooga, and then they play at Auburn. There's not a lot of losses on this schedule, and you know, but last year, they lost to LSU and they lost to Tennessee. I'm not sure I could have said that before the season either.
Yeah. Like Georgia, I think it sets up favorably a lot of those games
For
at
sure.
home. So I do
Yeah.
think that the quarterback might hold them back, and bad quarterback play, maybe they do lose one, maybe two of those games. But at the end of the day, I still see a Georgia Alabama SEC title game unless LSU can knock them off. I think LSU is going to be really good again. Jaden Daniels comes back. He's put on more weight. If he continues to develop more and more, I think they've got a strong team around him. They're not going anywhere. I think they're going to be very good again. But I think Alabama, top to bottom, is better. So we should see another classic in Atlanta. But I think Georgia has an easier path to get there than Alabama does.
Or LSU. I mean, LSU goes
Yeah.
to they play Florida State and then Grambling, and then they play at State, host Arkansas, at Ole Miss, at Missouri. I mean, they should certainly at Ole Miss kind of jumps out at me just a little bit, not a lot. At Missouri, please. Auburn at home, then Army at home, which is curious. Then they go to Alabama. Like, why are you playing Army? Like, God bless those guys, but I'm never playing an option team if I can help it, ever.
Yeah.
Comment?
I mean, same thing with Georgia Southern, who almost knocked Georgia off. They beat Florida, App State. There's just a few of those programs that you don't want any part of them, especially before or after a big conference game that you just have played, especially in the middle or late in the season. You're just asking for disaster there. But
Well, look, I know what I'm about to say is going to be sacrilegious, but they play at Alabama and then they play Florida, and I'm not sure I would really want a back to back with Alabama and Florida. Okay, I know the Gators are not great, but still. And then they go see they host Georgia State, and then they host Texas A&M. Look, we don't know how good Texas A&M is going to be, and my suspicion is not great. But we kind of got off the subject here. I wanted to say this too. I don't mind at all. I think it's smart for Alabama to do um, a core building, getting along with one another. I do think that matters a lot in life and in sports. And I think that, Georgia, this has been ingrained in the program, I feel like a little bit better. I think the thing that Alabama's lost that they're not going to get back is Kirby. That's the biggest thing they've lost. They've won two national championships since then. That's pretty good, I got to say. But Kirby's won two national championships himself. And, the biggest challenge for LSU has been Georgia, and I think LSU. Did I say the biggest challenge for LSU? The biggest challenge for Alabama has been Georgia, and I think in the future it could be LSU. Comment?
I think you're right. I think it's really tough sledding for an Auburn team trying to get back to their winning ways. It's going to be tougher for A&M. I think Ole Miss has kind of plateaued. I mean, maybe they have one special season in them under Kiffin, but it's going to be really tough. Poor
Poor
Sam
Auburn.
Pittman in Arkansas.
Yeah,
He had a nice little season in his first season, but now it's kind of gone backwards again. But one of the toughest jobs in the country,
no
and
doubt, no
Mississippi,
question.
Mississippi State is never as bad as I think people think they are. They just have a tough schedule just out there in the West. But it should be Alabama and LSU for the foreseeable future. And I mean, how long do you give Jimbo Fisher at that point if you're A&M? But
No, not much longer, man. Not much
yeah.
longer at all. That's what I think, at least. All right, thanks for watching.